Hope you are doing well. Today, horror incident about unseen entity or demon. Like a lot of people, I had a bit of a troubled childhood. My parents were never physically abusive, but they fought constantly. My dad would yell and throw plates and shit across the room. Mom would get shit-faced and scream back through tears. Dad yelled at us for every little misstep and was very intolerant. In 6th grade, I met my best friend and someone that became my brother. Jared and I had 4 out of 6 periods together that first year of middle school. The first time I spent the night at his house was a few weeks into our friendship, using our geography project as an excuse for having to be together all weekend. I had met his parents before, but obviously hadn't spent a whole lot of time with them. They laughed together. They cuddled on the couch. They worked together to renovate their entire home inside and out. They supported each other on everything. They just loved each other. A lot of my friends' parents growing up were divorced. I always asked my mom why she was still with him when all they do is fight. Why not just get divorced? Separate for a while. Take time to remember why you fell in love with each other in the first place. I had absolutely no idea that two parents could just get along and genuinely love each other like they did. From that day until the day I dropped out of high school, I spent maybe 1 to 2 weeks a month at home in total. That was a night here and there. And the nights we weren't hanging out in person, we were playing Halo or Zombies or something on Xbox Live. The more time that I spent at his house, the more weird shit would happen to us in the middle of the night. It started with light scratching on the walls in the hallway and only got worse from there. One night I was woken up by the sound of an encyclopedia slamming down onto the table in front of me in the living room. Rich came jogging down the hall to find out what the hell was going on, and the only thing I had for him was that book. I don't know that he ever believed me, but that was when I started asking more questions about the house. The week that his parents bought that house, 2 kids that we went to school with had used an Ouija board in the garage. Jared and his family showed up while they were doing it, and they just up and ran away. Rich Jared's dad groaned and mumbled something about stupid-ass teenagers while picking up and throwing out the board. I don't know how much you believe in that stuff, but I didn't before I started spending so much time there. We started spending our overnights going between Halo and ghost hunting. We would try to walk through the house at night and catch weird happenings on video or catch EPs of a ghost telling us some dark secrets or something. Sitting in his room playing Halo one of our off nights, he started telling me about how he used to try to talk to the Egyptian god of death, Seth. He had little statuettes of Anubis, Ra, Seth, and other Egyptian gods, and that all started to make sense. Given our paranormal adventures as of late, I thought it would be cool for him to perform some kind of ritual in the dark to try and provoke something. So I stood up and placed my hand on the chain of the ceiling fan, waiting for the okay to pull it and shut the light. Jared gathered a few things into the middle of his bed and told me he was ready. So I pulled the chain and left us with nothing but the sound of that fan spinning above us. I was terrified of the dark until I was in my late 20s. I kind of still am, but it's gotten better. So I made sure to keep my hand around that chain so I could get the lights back on as soon as I felt like I couldn't handle it anymore. He started saying something that I will never be able to remember, like he was reading it live for the first time from a teleprompter. His words were staggered and he had to repeat himself a few times. 2 or 3 minutes into the whole thing, I started to feel puffs of warm air on the back of my neck. There was no accompanying sound other than the fan and Jared's voice sounding more and more distant. I was starting to get scared. I tried to pull on the chain, but my hands were clammy from the fear. Almost like it sensed that I couldn't grip the chain well. I felt something grip my bicep and start to pull it down towards the floor. Hard. I managed to pinch my fingernails between the beads on the chain and getting enough grip to get the light back on. As soon as the filaments of the light bulb sparked, the pressure on my arm and the warm air on my neck ceased. I was staring at Jared sitting cross-legged in his bed, blocking the light from his eyes. He asked me what the fuck was going on, and I started to explain it to him. I rolled up my sleeve to grip my arm as a visual example of what I felt. And there was a huge handprint wrapped around my arm, beet red, like I was dragged across the yard by the upper part of my arm. We both picked our jaws up off of the floor and waited with bated breath for one of us to break the silence. It wasn't one of our voices that ended up doing so. The bifold doors on his closet squeaked open just a few inches, and I swear to you that I saw two eyes and a smile in the darkness in the back of his closet that I will never forget for as long as I live. Two oblong almost dots of just barely not black, a couple of inches apart, with a long, jagged smile that I can only assume was spanning from ear to ear. That night solidified the thought that his house was haunted for me. And it wasn't the last or scariest thing to happen to us there. It's my advice, if you ever visit, remember to be careful around the river and the forest. For the spirits that are hungry for fear, always inquire about the house before move in. Keep yourself and others safe from any type of scary activity. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.